Hello and welcome. This is MPC Exclusive and my name is Blessings Cheleuka. This is part 2 of our discussion with the Vice Chancellor for the Malawi University of Science and Technology, MUST, Professor Address Malata. Thank you for joining us. Professor, welcome once again to MPC Exclusive.
Thank you very much.
Talking about MUST, how organized are you in terms of programming?
So our university has got 4 schools. Our first school is Malawi Institute of Technology. This school was the first school. Started with 3 engineering programs, but now has grown into quite many programs. So all our engineering programs, chemical engineering, biomedical engineering, manufacturing engineering, we're looking also at textile engineering in that school. In that school, we are also looking at information technology. So we have business information technology, also computer systems and security. It is our largest school and our oldest school. And of course, now we've also gone into postgraduate programs. So we have master's degree, we have PhD programs. So big school, many students, but I think it is an icon because it was the first school to be started at MUST. Then we have a second school, Data School of Climate and Earth Sciences. So we are looking at issues of water quality, energy resource management. Within that school, we also have programs in climate. So we know the issues of climate now are critical issues. We also have geoinformation systems. We also have programs that are looking at earth sciences. So really looking at issues of mining, but within the programming of that school. What is more important to mention for that school is the fact that the school runs a school that's focusing on drones. So we have an academy for drones and data that is being supported by UNICEF. So it's called ADA. We do bring students from African countries. So 50% of our students that graduate from that school, from that academy, are from other African countries. So very successful. We partnered with Virginia Tech University in the US and another Indian university. We've been running it over the past 3-4 years and very successful. We are now evaluating, but certainly many of the young people in this national institutions that are dealing with drones, the people that are doing that are actually graduates of that academy. So it's within the School of Climate and Earth Sciences. Then we do have a third school. This is a Bingo School of Culture and Heritage. So indigenous knowledge and systems, we're looking at
culture and heritage.
Culture and heritage.
Away from science and technology.
No, within science and technology,
connection?
So very, very connected. So we do value culture. You cannot look at science and technology in isolation of culture. Countries in the world that have done well in progression in terms of industrialization have used their culture actually to push their agenda. So if you look at countries like Japan, you look at South Korea, even China, these countries really use their culture as part of what they do, and that's what we want to see. You cannot just say, I am a scientist, and then you ignore your culture. Culture is always very important. Within that school, we also have African musicology. Actually, we have a brass band. Okay. You should hire one of these days. They are one of the best in this nation.
And it must be very expensive.
Not really expensive, actually, very fair prices, but very good, very, very good. And then also within that school, we are looking at archiving and many other new programming that I would not want to disclose at this moment. Then finally, we have an academy for medical sciences. MUST has got a teaching hospital, beautiful hospital. We've been waiting for equipment and of course some adjustments, and government of Malawi has supported us. We've made some renovations. The hospital is nearly ready. And also thanks to the Chinese government that have provided equipment, and the equipment now it's on its way. We have been waiting, but agreements have now been signed by Ministry of Finance and Foreign Affairs, and of course the Chinese government. So the hospital will be open this year, I can promise. Okay. The hospital will only be focusing on diagnostics. So within that school, we are looking at programs like immunology, medical microbiology. We are looking at programs that really are to do with if somebody is unwell, where can they go for testing? So all these programs I'm talking about, immunology, virology, medical microbiology, the imaging, they're all about testing. And that's what the hospital will be focusing on. And of course, over time, we do plan to do some research, traditional research within that hospital. And that is all under the Academy of Medical Sciences. So that's how our programming is. So it's about climate, it's about technology, it's about medicine. Medicine not necessarily doing what our colleagues in KUHES are doing, but looking at diagnostics,
I was
which we
about to
think,
ask on the same because
Yes.
it seems like you're all over. Don't you think at the end of the day you'll end up losing focus somewhere?
not really. If you look at the programming, it's actually well-natured programming, cutting across science, technology, and innovation. Because if you're talking about water, you're talking about energy. You can't run away from technology. So our programming in the School of Climate and Earth Sciences, it's all about technologies. And then, of course, within the engineering programs and, of course, IT programs, all of that, you still have to push in technology, innovation, science. And of course, as I said, even within the School of Culture and Heritage, it's about technologies. Our students know how to make equipment and then how to play the equipment. And then they can do that as a business, and that's what we want to see. And of course, for the school, the Academy of Medical Sciences, as you've seen, we're not talking about training medical doctors. We're talking about training individuals that can actually trace a disease or a problem. So communicable, non-communicable diseases. And in the programming of MAST, when MAST was created as an institution of higher learning, there already was a plan that there should be a medical component. And we've gone all over the world and seen what's happening. You always have these components, medicine, but not necessarily looking at what others are doing, but where we think gaps are. We do hope that the type of programming that we have done at MAST, each of these schools can actually come up with one product. And so when you look at the School of Climate and Earth Sciences, the fact that they can actually manufacture, fly drones, teach students how to do this, and then even work when there are issues in this nation. When there was Cyclone Freddy, our drones and our team were able to help the Department of Disaster Risk Management in this nation. That's what we want to see. And of course, for the hospital, the idea is we know that medical services in Malawi are still limited because the population is large, and then many times some of these things require that people go out of Malawi. We can save, forex if we do offer some of our services, and that's why the Chinese government is buying this state-of-the-art equipment so that we can actually do some of the things here. Linked to the hospital is a very big, lab complex. I think it will be the largest in this nation that Malawi government is actually building, and we want to have a reference lab. So I think you remember during COVID-19, the University of Stellenbosch were able to actually come up with a variant. That variant that they were able to identify was within a university. That's what we want to see in Malawi, and we do think that our lab will attract international partners, and we can work not only on our own, we also believe in partnerships within Malawi. So we do work with nearly all the public universities in one way or the other. Some of our grants we do apply together, but we also have regional partners. So within Africa, Stellenbosch, UCT, in Kenya, we have some colleagues there that we're working with, in Uganda, Makerere, and even Mozambique, because in our, geoinformation system program, and we are looking at colleagues in Mozambique that seem to have already done quite a lot of work in this particular area. So that's how MAST is in a nutshell. We would want to make sure that now we consolidate what we started. So not too much, expansion in terms of programs. We've moved up now with postgraduate programs, and so because postgraduate programs are the ones that push research. You cannot talk about research in a higher education institution if you don't have postgraduate programs. So what we've done now is to ensure that we have postgraduate programs that can push research at MAST.
Now, talking about partnership, recently you signed a deal with the Malawi government, especially the Ministry of Agriculture, to be assisting Mikolonge veterinary services. I don't know, how far have you gone with this pact?
Yeah, so that agreement is a very good agreement because one, we're looking at proximity, We're very close to that entity, and they also reached out to us to say, look, we can work together. But at the same time, as I said earlier on, it's about science, about technologies, about innovation. We would like to support Mikolongwe in one way or the other so that they push into that direction. And so we're already doing some initiatives together. We can use our School of Climate, we can use our School of Information Technology to support Mikolongwe. And already there are some activities that are happening, and we're really happy to support Minister of Agriculture. That's the way to go. As I said, science, technology, and innovation cuts across different sectors: agriculture, health, education, and many other sectors. So we are there to support our nation, and where partners think we can work together, we've always been able to do that. There are also times we reach out to people to say, look, we can work together. And we also believe that even in our programming, we can work with other institutions, not only public universities. We also have partnership with private institutions in Malawi so that we can push our nation to achieve Malawi 2063.
You are quite new on the market. There are other universities in the country, but you are the best in the country. What is your secret?
So I'm not sure we are the best because
no, you
people,
were rated the best.
people say that. Yeah, I think for us, as I said earlier on, we want to make a difference. When everything is said and done, can Malawians say it was worthwhile creating MUST? Because it's not just about coming up with new universities. This is taxpayers' money. Malawians out there are waiting for solutions. We can no longer be going out of our nation to look for solutions. The university must answer. So solution must 2030 is our goal now, to make sure that we answer questions, we answer problems that this nation faces. The reason why we're doing all this is because we want to make sure that we save resources for this nation. There are brains in this nation. The universities, not only MUST has got intelligent people, but it's not just about talking, because we can talk. At the end of the day, people want to see results. So that's why when we see students from MUST that win, competitions, cyber security, 3 years in a row, our students have gone out to win on the continent, and then even go to America to compete on cyber security. That's what we want to see. But when Malawi faces cyber security issues, then MUST and our students should come forward to say, no, look, can we work on this? Can we support our government? And also government and other institutions should be able to say, okay, instead of us going to another country, can MUST come forward and help us? Because sometimes it's also you can push yourself to a certain point, but people should be able to see, we know this expertise. Actually, it's amazing that out there are people who appreciate that the institution can do. And maybe within Malawi, people are still, they are very young, they're only 10 years old. It's not about the age, it is the difference that you make. And we believe that God created that institution for a purpose. Actually, we are now saying we are favored most. But at the end of the day, what difference can the institution make? Can you and me, in 20 years' time, look back and say, wow, it was worth our creating MUST? That's what Malawians are looking for. And it's about solutions. It's about giving alternatives. If this can't happen, can we do these things in this way? But it's also not just offering everything, it's quality that must come out of that institution. And I think as a leader, my desire is that our team works together to push that agenda. And I'm very grateful. I think God gave me a very good team, from the Deputy Vice Chancellor to every member of staff, even those that you don't see. They're all working very hard. They took a risk to work at a university that never existed. It's very easy to go to a university, to a college, and I come from University of Malawi, now Kuhes, but to go to a university that never existed is a risk. But I'm very thankful because the team is hardworking. Students also, they come with that mindset. Here it's different. And I've seen that, they're very creative. They sometimes come to my office like, your website is not good. Can we sort it out? So I've been saying, you know what? They say they can sort it out, so please give them a chance to do that. That's how modern universities work. You cannot say, no, they're students, or they can't do this. They are very intelligent, and they can bring solutions to this nation. And we want to give these people, an opportunity, both women and men, so boys and girls. So for me, passion is also about the care of child. Can we get them on board?
Maybe before we go to the girl child, just a reminder, in case you're just joining us, this is MBC exclusive, and my guest is the Vice Chancellor for MUST, Professor Address Malata. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back, MBC exclusive, talking about the girl child. Now, how do you rate girl child participation in science fields?
So girls in Malawi overall, it's not only Malawi, Sub-Saharan Africa, and even some of the developed countries, has always been very low. But I think for Malawi more particularly, our participation for girls in higher education is very, very low. Even at MUST, we're still at less than 10%. So when you ask students what program would they want to do, many of them shy away from sciences, shying away from chemical engineering, manufacturing engineering. But we would want to encourage girls to do that. So we've gone on a campaign. We run a science camp for girls every year. We get girls from rural Malawi. They come to our campus. We talk to them about science. What is science? We take them into industry to see how Coca-Cola is made, and for them to understand that science is really what we do every day. And also to say to them, look, you can do it. And we bring models to the camp. So they see people at the camp that have done well, engineers trained at MOBAS and engineers trained in other institutions. They come to inspire young girls. For me, more particularly, I speak to them. I talk about my life. I talk about growing up, not in a very good environment, not having everything. I tell them I walked to school without shoes. And I talk to them about, I repeated Form 4. But I said to them, look, when there was an opportunity to have people speak about what they have done as a professor, I first gave the first lecture in Lilongwe as a full professor in the University of Malawi. And my colleague, Professor Helen Chirwa, second one that day, two of us. So we've made history. So if people think about repeating Form 4, I'm sure just being a professor has already wiped that history.
We have seen people committing suicide.
Yes, and very interesting, because I've seen girls that came to the camp. One particular girl said she came, she had me, and she went out back to her home. Her results came out Form 4, she didn't do well. She said, I hate Prof. Malata. She repeated Form 4. She decided to go back to school. Came back and passed very well. I think she had like 8 points. She's now at Chancellor College, UNIMA now, finishing her actuarial science degree. So they can always have another chance. And these are issues that we discuss with the girls to see here. You may struggle. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't do it. So the science camp is an event we do every year, and we partner with public sector, private sector, international partners to make sure that we expose girls. But also, at the moment, we're on a big campaign to go out to schools to talk about the programs at MUST. Because sometimes they don't know. And you think about a boy, a girl in Harire, perhaps in Japananga, Nkoma, they may not always have an opportunity to watch a program like this one. But so we really need to go out there in the rural areas to talk about our programs. So using radios and perhaps even physically where possible, going out there to really encourage, particularly girls, to say, you can do it, it is possible. And using others. So this girl I talked about, now we use her to encourage other students. So I came to the camp. But also when we select these girls, special program to support them. So like at MUST, our female members of staff now have been tasked to make sure that they're following the girls. So they run programs, they speak to the girls, how to behave, how to work hard, how to manage relationships. If a girl is dropped by a boy, they'll be crying the whole night. The boy will be somewhere dancing. They don't care, and then they pass. And of course, issues of pregnancies, really pleading with them to say, look, you can defer these issues because you have an opportunity to go to school. Work hard, finish school, and then at the right time you get married. So we really have to do this. And I don't only do this for MUST. I really go out to all girls in Malawi where I have an opportunity to encourage them. You can do it. It's possible. You may not have everything. Because some of them, they look at their friends, oh, I have no shoes. I tell them, we went to school without shoes. And that time we put blue zero, and then you walk to school, and then you pass. So you don't have to worry so much about what you don't have. Actually, I tell them they are more privileged now than we were in our time. So it's very important that we really move the girl child. Also, there are role models in this nation, and I want to, because I'm here speaking, that we really encourage women that have done well. They are now in their perhaps middle-level management or perhaps even senior-level management, even when you are not a manager. The fact that you've been able to finish school, you are out there, or maybe you're doing business, go out to pull another woman, another girl, so that they can actually also have the same opportunity. So we need to have good mentorship programs all over Malawi and make sure that we're pulling these girls to say, no, you can do it, encouraging them.
Now, as a university, what are some of the notable research activities you have carried out so far?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work in research. Actually, our research work funded by the Norwegian government, international partners like UNICEF. We've done a lot of work with USAID. Most of our work has focused on innovations, technologies. Rice University in the US have funded MAST to come up with innovations. During COVID-19, we had some elements that came out of MAST, hand washing machines, even equipment for checking people's temperatures. All those have come out of MAST, and they are research-based. We're now going into prototyping. We want to make sure we commercialize. We've also done a lot of work in agricultural technologies. We've also done a lot of work in food technologies and research work that has come out even from our own members of staff and publications and pushing our institutions forward. I talked about ADA. This is a research project. So ADA, the Drone and Data Academy, is research, very notable on the African region. I think it was featured on BBC. We've reached out to the whole of Africa. Now our own graduates are training other countries. So we had a delegation from Nepal a few months ago that came to see what we're doing at MAST. And it was quite interesting. Leading the delegation was a young lady from Uganda who was trained at MAST as a drone and data specialist, but now is leading in that country. We also have members of staff that have done a lot of work in issues of climate. And so we have people in the School of Climate that are really working with WFP and coming up with innovations that can help this nation. And of course, issues of food systems, that's also our big issue. We are not competing with Luana because Luana is focusing on other issues. Ours is technology. How can we improve? How can we stop this post-harvest loss that Malawi is facing? And this is also another program area. We do have a lot of research work now happening in the medical sciences. We have research work on technologies, how to use technology to improve quality of care. And we have a team, Dr. Madanit's and team, that are pushing that agenda. And then, of course, research in malaria, but using technologies, and Prof. Mandala leading that team. We also have my own team that's looking at family planning, and then how to use technologies to improve family planning in this nation. So very diverse, but you can see that all our research is based on the schools. MIT, Data School of Climate and Earth Sciences, Bingo School of Culture and Heritage, and of course AMS, really making sure that we answer some of the questions that Malawi is facing.
How do you envision Malawi probably 10, 15 years from now?
No, Malawi will change. Malawi will get better. I think what we need is to make sure that we are investing in the right spaces. So for me, like when I talk about MAST, people think it's us as individuals at MAST. But to be very honest with you, MAST is an entity that was created for this nation. But there's need to invest. So remember the gaps I talked about. You shouldn't have a situation where students are waiting at home because we really can't bring them on campus. We need to invest in the right things and then give space for our people. Trust our own. If somebody came to us and said, we want you to develop a system, we'll be able to do that. But I think there's always a tendency like, let's get something from another African country. And our graduates, I remember 2 of our graduates went to study in Rwanda. And they said to me that there were guests coming even from Malawi to see what the University of Rwanda was doing in IT. And they were the ones showing the guests. And one grouping, I will not mention here, they asked like, so where are you from? They said, we're from MAST. Really? We came all the way to see what MAST can do. Let's trust what Malawians can do. We have a lot of potential. And let's not compete too much. So for me, I love the public universities now and private investors are running. There should be positive competition. Because at the end of the day, it's not about, hey, Master Bangaza would. No. what difference has MUST made in this nation. And I do think that as all public investors and private investors, if we really held our hands, our colleagues, when you go to South Africa, there are certain times they're fighting, but there are also times they're working together. Zimbabwe, I was there, and they were talking about education 4.0. MUST is taking education 5.0 plus, which means that in that type of educational system, you're working with partners, your local partners, regional partners, international partners. But it's not about just degrees. Degrees Malawi has produced for decades, but it's about what can those degrees do that makes a difference, that makes people feel it's worthwhile having public or private universities. To me, that's what is the push, and I do think that this nation has got a future. The future is with our young people. Let's give them space, let's support them, and let's support the girl child, because the girl child is actually brilliant, but many times no pipeline. A few people celebrated. Good, but to me not good enough. Can we have as many women that can change this nation? They are capable, they can do things, they're focused, but let's support them. Let's support institutions of hiring. Private sector, put resources, have hubs on our universities. That's what is happening in Australia. You go in a university, you'll be finding hubs from companies. But here, people are like, no, are you looking for money? Oh, what are you looking for? No, we can work together. Malawi 2063 is possible, can actually happen area. If we all just put our concerted efforts and change our mindset that it can only be done by people from another country. Malawians have super brains, they're really intelligent. Let's support one another, let's work together, and let's not think about me, let's think about our people. What difference are we making?
Professor Adres Malata, let's end it there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
On that note, we conclude this edition of MBC Exclusive. My name is Blessings Cheleuka, and my guest was the Vice Chancellor for the Malawi University of Science and Technology, MUST, Professor Adres Malata. Thank you for watching.